Vice President J.D Vance asked President Zelensky of Ukraine to stop his country's intense campaign of drone strikes on Black Sea oil tankers last month. It's claimed he was concerned that Ukraine was destabilising oil markets and harming US companies. Oleksandr Merezhko is a Ukrainian MP and chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Oleksandr, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
It seems that Ukraine went along with this request from J.D Vance. Do you think it was appropriate for the Vice President to even make the request in the first place?
Well, first of all, yes, I'm an international lawyer, and I view the whole thing from the perspective of international law and constitutional law of the United States. As we know, under American Constitution, Vice President doesn't have prerogatives, doesn't have competence in the field of foreign affairs, foreign relations. It's up to the President himself to take such decisions. Of course, Vice President might receive an assignment from the President, but we need to see this assignment, and I'm a little bit sort of confused because, it would make sense if the President himself or State Secretary Marco Rubio would come up with such official request addressed to Ukraine. But we don't see anything like that. That's why it's very confusing. And from moral point of view, it's kind of weird to see that when Putin is escalating, our American friends are asking the victim of the aggression, not the aggressor, to refrain from attacking. So to me, from moral point of view, from legal and from political point of view, this story looks a little bit unusual, to put it mildly.
The thing about it, Oleksandr, is that Ukraine appears to have gone along with it and acquiesced to the request. Did Ukraine have a choice?
Well, first of all, it's difficult if there is such a request. Yes, even unofficial. It's rather politically difficult for us to decline such a request because we are dependent on the support of the United States. It's obvious, but at least we need some kind of, at least politically speaking, quid pro quo. We need to receive something in return to enhance our defensive capabilities right now. And even from technical point of view, military technical point of view, it's difficult to imagine how this request can be implemented, how to, for example, identify non-Russian vessels, to identify whether or not they carry Russian oil. It's difficult.
Yeah. In terms of the campaign itself, I suppose one argument for US Vice President J.D Vance making this request is that his concern was about oil prices and the impact on companies, particularly US-based companies, it would appear. Could the argument be made that he was right to make this request? Had he not done it, Ukraine could have emerged as something of a bad operator in this situation, affecting the citizens of allied countries?
Well, honestly, from my subjective perspective, maybe it's not persuasive argument when it comes to economic interests. We're talking about defending human lives here in Ukraine, about lives of our children. And to stop Putin aggression, we need to deprive Russian war machine of oil revenues. That's the only way how we can influence, how we can somehow stop Russia from killing us. And when someone is talking about economic interest markets, to me, it's incomprehensible.
The other part of this, of course, is that it's not the first time that the US has tried to deter Ukraine from hitting American business interests in Russia. In February, the ambassador, Ukraine's ambassador to Washington, said that she had received a diplomatic message, sort of one of these official communiques that's supposed to sort of register disapproval from the US State Department after a drone strike on a port late last year. The US is trying to protect its interests here.
Well, maybe in a way it's natural. Each country is trying to protect its national or even economic interests. But, in our situation, when Russia is committing genocide against Ukrainian people, and we're desperately fighting for our survival, to care about oil or about prices, I think it's not a moral thing to do.
The other factor, I suppose, is is Ukraine's, dare I say, dependence on the US in all of this? Because at the time that this request was made, Ukraine was seeking a US license to produce interceptor missiles, and it wants to buy several hundred of those before the winter. And so actually it feels as though Ukraine was backed into a corner, that they had to go along with the US in order to get these supplies that they so badly need.
Well, initially, President Trump himself solemnly declared that he will provide Ukraine with the licenses we need to start producing Patriot systems. Yes, it was his promise, and we do hope that he will stick to his promise. Later on, he's tried to backtrack, and it undermines his credibility, first of all, and credibility of his country. But we do hope that he will follow through on this initial promise. But the thing is that it will take months, if not years, to start producing these interceptor missiles. But we need such missiles right now, because even I'm talking to you just an hour ago, we had sirens going on, we had Russian drones attacking in the middle of the day our critical infrastructure. Russia is using ballistic missiles practically each night, and we need such interceptors to save our human lives right now.
Do you have, I suppose, a level of concern that you would convey to President Zelensky that he went along with this request? Should he be criticised in this?
Of course, president should not be criticized because, first of all, he sees bigger picture than I see it. I'm talking about my subjective point of view, and I don't see the whole picture. When president takes such difficult decisions, he understands what he's doing. And I believe that maybe he even didn't have a choice under the circumstances, difficult circumstances. It's not a question about him. It's a question about our American friends.
Yeah, I suppose there is that thing as well. How friendly does the US feel in light of the conversation we've just been having?
Well, first of all, we continue to view the United States as a whole, as a country, as our friend and our ally, because we see that, for example, when we take the Congress, majority of both Republicans, Democrats, they staunchly on the side of Ukraine. Even if we're talking about voters of Trump, mega movement, majority of them understand the danger of Russia, and they understand that it's important to continue to provide Ukraine with military aid. So generally speaking, the US continues to be our friend. But unfortunately, in the entourage of President Trump, there are different schools of thoughts. There are different people with different views, and not all of them are, I would say, committed to supporting Ukraine. Some of them are proud of, sort of considered to be their foreign political achievement to stop providing Ukraine with military aid. Yes, there are such people, but luckily there are people who understand importance to support Ukraine, not only on humanitarian grounds, not only for moral reasons, but also because it's in the interest of the United States and supporting, maintaining global security.
Yeah. Oleksandr, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It's good to speak to you. That is Oleksandr Merezhko, a Ukrainian MP and chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee